Hey guys, this is Jacolia of Jacolia Gems. Thank you for once again coming back to view my channel. If you are new here, I am so excited that the algorithm has brought you to the right side of YouTube. I do hope that you enjoy your visit and decide to make this one of your YouTube homes. For those of you returning, welcome back, family. Do me a favor, if you have not already done so, hit the subscribe button, like this video, comment down below, share it to your social media platforms, text messages, so we can get another holistic conversation started. With that being said, I want to talk about something on today that goes undiscussed in a grave matter, although some people talk about child molestation and their experiences. Some people write books about it and do conferences and so on and so forth. There is a ministerial work specifically for people whom have been victims and have used their stories to become victors. And if you know anything about becoming a victor, you know that the healing process is not linear. 1 year, 1 day, 1 month, you'll feel like you're fine, and all it takes is a trigger or an unblocked memory to occur. So on today, I know you guys see the title. It says Predators in the Black Family. My cousin still fetishes me. I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge both of my parents in this video. And as I read an excerpt from my book, I will do so even further. On today, I stand on the shoulders of my late mother, Dr. Patricia Ann Holliday. My mother wrote a book, which I will be reading a short excerpt from. She wrote many books. This one in particular, Turning Pain into Power, is actually what she named her 503C outreach ministry. The book was birthed out of her experiences from being molested as a little girl by older men in the family, from being molested by a pastor in the church. She began to talk about the spiritual aspects, and I know that my mom used to publicly speak on these things as well, and she accredited her healing not only to Chukwu Okike Onbiamba, to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to my father as well. She began to teach on the biblical aspects and a role that a husband can play in the healing process of his wife. And this is why it's important to marry a man that has some righteousness about him, who knows that the order is the Most High, the Mashiach, him, and then his wife, and then his children. A man whom knows how to wash and water you with the word. My mother would often talk about to us as daughters, but publicly, so I'm not going to say anything that my mother has not first stated herself. As ladies, we don't talk under one another's skirts. She has publicly talked about how the affection and the intimacy between her and my father literally began to heal her. She talked about how she was shut off sexually because of the damage that was done to her. Yet she became a single mother. People miss aspects as to the cause and the effect of a child being touched. And honestly, I've stated this before, the feminist movement, which we know who was given it to us by, but we were able to accept it so readily and so quickly because we've been broken and damaged people. And if a Black woman can just gain some sense of her power back, because unfortunately, more times than not, it's been taken away from us. never felt like we had control over it. Because if we are being taught as little girls that your value is linked to your virginity and someone takes it, then you begin to take what you deem valuable and you control the narrative. Some women decide to keep it to themselves and they go on and they be fine. Other women become shut down, and I'm going to read about it. Some become promiscuous. So I'm gonna share this screen. I'm gonna link these books down below um, that I will be reading from. One of them is my book, and the other one is my mother's book. And I actually realized something on today when reading the excerpt that my daddy wrote in my mom's book. I did not realize that the title of my book, my dad actually said in what he stated about my mom. So this book is called Turning Pain into Power. Can be found on Amazon, Google Books, Lulu.com. My mom wrote this book in October of 2004. She wrote this book while becoming a new grandmother. So that's her acknowledgement. I'm going to scroll down. This is what my daddy wrote about my mom. They had been married for 18 years at this point. They made it to 36 years before she suddenly passed away, for those of you who are new here. After almost 20 years of marriage, I've watched Patricia grow from a fragile little girl to a blossoming into a powerful woman. I've seen her at her most broken state. As she relived the pain of her past, there were days when I wondered if she would come out. But with ever-increasing faith in God, she came out victorious. This is a story that I've been blessed to be a part of. I've witnessed as God took her from tragedy to triumph, from victim to victor. This is a work that was born out of experience. I believe that while reading this book, if you allow the Holy Spirit to minister to you like Patricia, your pain will be turned to power. And at that time, my dad was an elder. He's an apostle now. The name of the church is no longer Faith Deliverance Temple. It is now Ruach Worldwide Worship Ministries and Alliances. So let's continue. I'm going to just read this little part from Mom's book. She began to talk about the difference between natural pain and unnatural pain. There's a difference between natural and unnatural pains. Natural pains are those that occur with outside influences. The pains that occur during childbirth is an example of natural pain. Although the intensity of the pain is great, it is expected. Therefore, the body and mind adapt to accommodate the pain. Once the birthing process is over, the intensity of pain drastically decreases. The joy experienced while holding the child makes the pain an afterthought. So it's not going to have her full definition of the unnatural pain. Y'all going to have to go buy the book, okay? Unnatural pains are those inflicted by outside influences and do not contribute to the health or well-being of the individual the pain is inflicted upon. The pain experienced as the result of surgery, and she probably began to talk about other traumatic, unexpected things that begin to take place that cause unnatural pain because it was not expected. So, I don't believe in coincidences. The title of my book that I wrote in 2006, my 30th birthday, I actually had a book signing for this book, From Victim to Victor, Survivor's Story. With this book, I needed this. I'm going to write part 2. I started writing it and I put it down. I started writing it when I was going through something traumatic myself. And I put it down and then I put it back up right before my mother passed away. and I got a whole chapter, I think maybe 2 chapters out, and I put it down again. And I heard the Ruach tell me to just wait because there was more that I needed to learn and more healing that I would have to go through before I wrote this second book. And I'm like, man, I'm behind. I haven't written a book in years. Then my mommy passed away, and I understood even deeper. So part 2 is going to come out sooner than later. And as you guys see, the coincidence that I do not believe in is from victim to victor survivor story. That's what Daddy said Mommy was. So her story lives on through me, literally. Chapter 1. This was 2006 that I wrote this, turning 30. When faced with traumatic situation, everyone reacts differently. Some react outwardly and become angry, violent, promiscuous, and cold-hearted. Others may become depressed, introverted, shut off, and slow to trust. Without facing the painful truth of abuse, no matter the form, you run the risk of being stuck in that age until you take control. This is called arrested development. When we begin to see emotional outbursts and breakdowns and things like that, when it comes to people having their different triggers, a lot of times they are reverting back to the age of when they first felt that familiarity. And without the Most High, without prayer, without fasting, without love, without affection, sometimes without therapy, whether it's self-therapy, going to see a professional, journaling, getting to know yourself, self-care, self-love, we won't realize that some of us are grown kids because of our trauma. At the age of 4, I was molested by an older male cousin. Being that young, I had no idea how that traumatic situation would affect me futuristically. Mathematically speaking, when you take a smaller positive and a bigger negative, the equation will equate to a negative number. Molestation was the big negative while I was the small positive. It caused me to become quiet and look at older men with a jaundiced perspective. There was one component innate on the inside of me that would be able to outweigh any negative I would face, the Ruach HaKodesh. At that age, I was unable to grasp in totality what I was capable of spiritually. Yet I knew that I was able to cry out to the Most High in prayer with a spirit of expectation. I began to list some scriptures, Psalms 34. Biblically, King David was a man, Psalms 34:4. Biblically, King David was a man after God's own heart. And being a man after God's own heart can mean he sought the heart of God in his praise, worship, and supplication. It can also mean that David's heart was crafted symbolically to mirror the heart of the Most High. Either explanation of David being after the heart of the Most High draws the conclusion that God knew David's desire was to please his heart. So the Lord answered him. I began to talk about molestation triggered bad dreams. My dreams were very vivid. I've always had very vivid dreams. And I had no idea what they meant. I would wake up at night and run into my parents' room. My father would lay his hands on my head, pray, and send me back to bed. By prayer being my father's initial response to my nightmares, it became my initial response to my reality, which was a nightmare. Addressing the issue of molestation in families is considered taboo, especially when the act is committed by another family member. This secretive method does nothing except make the victim feel at fault and give leeway for someone else to be abused. God is concerned about the well-being of all his children. However, there is an emphasis placed on his love for the youth. So that's all I'm going to read. I'm going to link this book down below. It can definitely help. I do have different doctrine now. So everything that I wrote, I was younger. It's a helpful book. I want to talk to you guys. The reason I'm doing this video is to shine light. I had a conversation with a young lady a couple months ago, I want to say, and she began to tell me that the person that assaulted her became friends with one of her relatives, that he requested her on Facebook, that he even began to message her. And I said, that's crazy. So I began to share with her something. So the cousin that I was talking about in that video, and in my book, excuse me, who molested me at the age of 4, he's still a predatorial man. I am a firm believer that 9 times out of 10, when a child, teenager, adolescent becomes a predator to other children, somebody did something to them first. It's pathology repeating. When I was 4 years old, I remember my grandmother was supposed to be keeping me and my older sister so my mother could work. And she changed her mind. My dad's mom. And we ended up over our great-grandmother's house. And this is my story, nobody else's. I don't speak for anybody else. Talking about myself and this particular cousin. And I'm outside playing. As usual, over on Chicago Avenue and Menard, y'all know the big brown stone building. And y'all remember how us 80s babies, we used to get shopping carts. Well, they would take the shopping carts from the stores. We would get the shopping carts and play with it up and down the walkway. It's an alley that's not really an alley because nobody drives down it. It's like brick and cobblestone. And we used to collect aluminum can pans. And I'll never forget that this cousin and his older brother lured me down to the stairs. Y'all know them concrete stairs that led into the basement. For all of y'all West Siders, y'all know what I'm talking about. And I'm thinking we finna play a game of hide and seek or something. Yet I feel uneasy. And I began to try to get up. And because I didn't want to play no more. And I was told, no, you sit down, you gotta play. Just wait. And now I'm knowing that they waited to make sure that no adults were coming. Now, at the age of 36, I'm going to tell you something. I've clearly written about this. This book was published in 2006. As a little girl, I went home. I don't remember the timeline, but I told my parents about what happened. Because we grew up in an honest household when our parents taught us about good touch and bad touch at a very young age. We didn't go back over there. I don't know how it was handled. I have no idea. I do know that I had a daughter in 2004. And that just so happens to be the same year that my grandfather passed away. My mom's stepfather. And the family was gathered at my grandmother's house for Christmas. And this cousin showed up. See, that's why I do not believe in going to family gatherings. Because the black family let pedophiles run free without having any conversation. Because who hurt you that made you think it was okay to hurt me? And then we end up hurting each other. Like it's a perpetual cycle that needs to be discussed, needs to be talked about, needs to be admitted. But I'm gonna tell y'all why it will not be talked about and be discussed. Because there will be no admission from people who are purposely predatory. Now, you have some people who are purposely predatory and they'll just be blatant and confess. These are sociopaths. Some psychopaths. Textbook definition. Then you have some people who have been hurt and they perpetuated that pain and perpetuated that cycle and they broke them and it's like, oh, that's really what I did. I was 4. He knew what he was doing. He's older than me. We weren't the same age. And even with kids being the same age, it still has a damaging effect. Especially when one is forceful. Even when kids think they just playing house, that's still, y'all know what I'm talking about. It's levels to things. So this predator on this Christmas was probably the last one I went out there because at 18, I stopped going to Christmases and things like that. This was one of the main reasons why I found no need in a celebration. But I decided that I'm going to put me and my child at that time, I didn't have 2 kids, first. I will never forget my daughter was in her car seat, sitting in the middle of Grandma's dining room table with stuff around her. Grandma got like this really big, beautiful wooden table. And I normally sit at that table with my daddy and we be playing cards. We're introverted. We be playing cards or games on our phone. And this cousin walks in. And I'm looking and I'm watching. Because I'm like, he better not have enough nerve to touch my child. I'm just knowing like he not going to do that. I already don't want to be here with you being here. Y'all, he picked my baby up. He picked my baby up. Comment down below and tell me what do you think I did. He picked my baby up. And in that moment, I don't see how anybody in the family could forget. See, people have selective memory. Because I made a commotion. I made a scene. It was lights, camera, action. Yes. I put on. I did, and it was beautiful. It was artistic. It was strategic. It was fast. I was ready. And I let it be made known. I will sift you as wheat. So I wrote this book in 2006. Right. I have a text message to my mother. September 15th, 2020 at 10:02 a.m. I said this cousin name and I said he just requested me on Facebook and it made me angry. She said decline it. I said I'm not removing it or he can request me again. I should have just blocked him. I believe I did have him blocked on one page before. I'm gonna just talk about what I'm not gonna talk about what I can only prove, but if my memory serves me correct, I blocked him before on another page. And so this time it would make sense why I just removed it. He's made more than one Facebook page. And I'm positive if I go unblock him and then be able to type in his name, he probably has more than one page. Putting this out there for a reason. That was 2020. I text my big cousin about it. And I say to my big cousin, imagine your cousin that molested you as a kid, who picked your daughter up when she was 6 months at a Christmas dinner after your grandfather just died, and threatened his life in front of the entire family, and they send you a friend request on Facebook. Let's see. This is this year. September 18th at 8:35 p.m. I send my father a screenshot of this same cousin sending me a friend request. And my daddy said, "What, your cousin?" I say, "Yes." I just messaged him telling him how I feel. And I'm thinking about telling one of my big cousins to tell him to leave me alone. I've blocked other pages. That's triggering. He says, hopefully he does. I said, I'll get over it one day. My daddy said, heal, baby, heal. I said, I'll be trying. And I have to some days, but that just broke me down, just going through a new process. There are times in life when we have to realize that our families in aid and embed these type of people. Do y'all not know that after I sent that man that message and my big cousin reached out to him, he showed up to my grandmother's house at 11 something at night to say he was confused? Why are you going to my grandma? Pull up on me and tell me I'm lying. That's what I want. Pull up on me and tell me that I'm lying. That's one thing I don't have a history of being, is a liar. I enjoy the truth. It makes me feel amazing. That's why I'm able to live as free as I do. I will never, if the Most High continues to be my help, make a false accusation against anyone's name, their reputation, but especially a black man. I'm going to sully your name, your reputation. You're my family. So when we see people making posts and videos and exposing their abusers, we don't know what people are dealing with behind the scenes. If my mother wrote books, I don't know what y'all thought I was going to do. I wrote it. I've been talking about you, Playboy. You don't want to heal because you sick. Who else kids have you hurt? Are yours safe? You don't want help. And I understand it because the environment you're in is sick. Let this be a lesson, because I know he gonna see it. And my family don't like to do nothing else. They like to talk. And although I'm an introvert, I got the gift of gab, baby. But talking is over with when it comes to a lot of things. Go play with somebody else. You already played with me. When you put your hand in my petri dish. And let's talk about the psychological aspects and the fact that a lot of times when this happens to people, they disassociate and block out memories. So I have to sit and ask myself, how far did he take it? Because I know that my memories have been restored and there are some coming back to me. But I don't even know how far you took it. There's something out there for people like you. You're not confused. And if you are, I have the solution for it. Because Yodhe is not the author thereof. And all thy getting, get understanding. And since I be a woman of wisdom, I'll teach you a thing or two. And for family members, children, parents, when you're dealing with your kids, always assume they're telling the truth first and then do some investigation. Because one thing I never need is for somebody to believe nothing that comes out of my mouth. I don't need cosign. I don't need support. I don't need a cheerleading team. I'm acrobatic. I do flips. I do splits. I do turns. I can pat myself on the back. I don't need an army behind me. I don't need to plead my case. I am the judge. Okay? I hope this helps somebody out there. Stop going to them family reunions. Stop going to them Christmas parties. They pagan anyway. Stop taking your children over predatory family members' house. You don't owe them people nothing. Protect yourself. Protect your generations. Cry loud and spare not. We don't owe people anything. I don't owe nobody no silence. And I'm letting you know, you say something else or you do something else, I'm going to post your name. I'm going to post your picture. And I'm going to let you know that based on your history, although the statute of limitations are out when it comes to that, I'm thinking you're harassing me. And I only really know how to deal with that one way. Only. This is Jacolia of Jacolia Gems. Y'all be well. Y'all be blessed.